We sitting here, we talk, let's be real. Ain't nobody running from it. This whole Kaepernick stuff that went down. So let's analyze this for a second. Colin Kaepernick takes a knee. It was for police brutality. It was for racial discrimination and racial inequality. What black man would possibly have a problem with that? Where I took issue was your execution after you took a knee. Because now it's about where you going from here. So who's behind the scenes? It wasn't just Jay-Z and a host of other people. It was also me. I happen to know that Jay-Z and Rock Nation was leading the call behind the scenes, working with the NFL. Half the owners didn't want to do it. They literally said, bump them. And I was told, Jay-Z was like, oh, hell no, yes, you do. We ain't going out like that. That's why I was going off. And I'm explaining all of this, and all anybody sees is, I don't agree with Cap. Or Eric Reed, and he ain't a real brother. He's like Uncle Tom. And I'm like, really? Do you think these issues will come up on First Take as often as they do if I did not say okay?
Yo, what's up, man? So hit that like button if y'all watching this shit. So, wow, you've seen the clip. Stephen A. Smith was on Matt Barnes and Steven Jackson's All That Smoke podcast, and it's gonna come out on Thursday. That's just a clip. And Steven Jackson called out Stephen A. Smith, so I really want to hear what that conversation is gonna be like. That's on Showtime. So you have the battle of the two coons. So you got Uncle Tom and Susie Q going at it. This is coon on coon crime. This is the worst thing that could happen in the coon community. Stephen, Jason Whitlock is gonna come in and probably say, hey, we can't have that. We gotta stop you guys. So Stephen A., according to him on this podcast, he's telling these guys that he, along with Jay-Z, went out of their way to get that workout done. So if this is the fact, why do you wait till now, almost a month later, to put out this information, Mr. Stephen A., that you were behind the scenes? I highly doubt that Stephen A. Smith had something to do with Colin Kaepernick getting a workout. We all know the workout was a hoax. For 2 months, none of these NFL owners wanted to sign Colin Kaepernick. And then all of a sudden, they were willing to show up at this, organized workout on a fucking Saturday afternoon. All of a sudden, they changed their minds and wanted to, give him an opportunity. Come on. We know Jay-Z set that up so he could cover his reputation. So when this clip comes out, Jemelle Hill, another bird who no longer works for ESPN, I'm not a fan of her either. I remember a couple years ago, about a year ago, where she retweeted some article about black men being the white men of black culture and some nonsense. But she goes off this one clip and somebody says, what's wrong about trying to get Cap a workout? And she says, depends on if you can still consider yourself a journalist or not. And that's the one that really was like the trigger. And then she went off again and said, arguably ESPN's most prominent talent admitting to help orchestrate a workout for Colin Kaepernick. Yeah, let me go back to minding my business. Guards? So that's her shot. She does this on Twitter now. I'm pretty sure she could get in contact with Stephen A. Smith behind closed doors, but she does this on Twitter and blasts him. So then he fires back and says, 1, I have a name. 2, it's your colleague and friend who you've known for years. And what I've said on occasions on First Take and ESPN Radio, that I was behind the scenes speaking to people in support of getting Kaepernick back into the NFL. That's what he said. So what's the problem now? Happy fucking holidays. So, this is the exchange. And then she replies back and says, I'll call you because my initial tweet came from a very specific place. Now you want to fucking call a nigga after you called him out on Twitter on a public platform. Come on, dude. Now, she has a podcast called Unbothered where her response, she only fed the haters for, criticizing Stephen A. Smith and yada, yada, yada. Look, I want to see her have him on her podcast because I doubt it if ESPN's going to let Stephen A. interview her because she doesn't work for them. They fired her. It seems like Stephen A. is he managed by Rock Nation? Because, ever since Jay did that deal with Rock Nation, he has been solid as a rock in their defense. And he's always, like the coon that he is, he's always been very upfront about supporting the power structure when it comes to anything involving players going against the powers that be. He's always pro NFL, pro NBA. I remember when the NBA was telling basketball players not to wear Nike hoodies, and Stephen A. was the first person blasting players. Y'all need to listen and do what they say. And J.R. Smith got at him, So he's always been kind of pro system, but he's really been sticking hard for the NFL for the last couple of months, harder than normal. And Jemelle even went on to say, anyway, here are my thoughts on Roger Goodell's position that the NFL has moved on from Kaepernick. He won't play again, but history will always remember them as cowards. So she's taking this personally. This is when she says he used to be a journalist, because Stephen A. was a journalist. He was a beat writer for a columnist for the Philadelphia Inquirer, covered Allen Iverson's 76ers, had a TV show called Quite Frankly, but it got canceled. And I think he realized that he needed to go into a different direction, that television is a whole nother ball game than writing newspaper articles as a journalist. People are not as enthused or entertained by watching a journalist with a dry personality report sports as they are television personalities. That's what I was saying about my problem with sports media about a month ago. It's all about your personality more than your analytics and your knowledge of the sports. People nowadays want to see over-the-top personalities. And you see it with Skip Bayless, another guy who came up in the ranks as a journalist for Dallas, Chicago sports. He is very more animated when the cameras come on and turns his personality up just a notch so that he can be entertaining as a TV personality. So when Stephen A. Smith came back to ESPN, he changed his management and went more for the personality. Where when they launched the remake of First Take, when he joined Skip, he was now very more animated, more catchphrases, stay off the weed, and that's what she's really saying. Like, you sold out as a journalist. I don't even think she was really even talking about the shucking and jiving part. She was just saying, as a journalist, you sold out. Now, she always wanted to just remain behind the scenes, and they asked her to be on television because I guess they thought she looked good enough. But Stephen A. definitely wanted to brand himself as a TV star. And he even has a reoccurring role on fucking General Hospital. So that's what she's getting at. So, man, you sold out. You used to be a very well respected journalist in our industry, and you've completely sold out to just be a television guy. And that's why you make $8 million a year. And now when Stephen A. says 1.5 hours before your workout was scheduled, when the league was and the term officials were informed that you will not be appearing, that was planned. Then you show up there's a bunch of people with Kaepernick jerseys wearing, I'm with Cap. So he thinks it was all a plan from the get-go. And yeah, Kaepernick changed the narrative. He didn't want them to have the narrative. But, I want to see Stephen A. get on her podcast and have them really talk about this, because like I say, he sold out. That's why he's making $8 million a year. And, I don't know whether to believe him, as far as, I think that might be damage control, him talking about he actually had something to do with Kaepernick getting a workout. Like, you ain't got that much power, bro. It took Jay-Z doing a deal with the NFL for him to even have that to happen. What do you have going on with Roger Goodell in the National Football League where you can get someone a workout, nigga? Come on now. I don't believe that. I ain't falling for that. But yeah, you got Stephen A. and Jemelle Hill at Fitch. And like I say, both of them are flawed individuals like a motherfucker. Because like I say, she could have just said something to him personally, but she took it upon herself. She wanted attention. I think she was in her feelings at that time. And I think once he put her in her place or whatever, she realized this isn't the right thing to do, so they're going to talk behind the scenes. But I want to see them do an interview together on her podcast, because it ain't going to happen on fucking ESPN. So we'll see about that. But yeah, Stephen A. and fucking Jemelle Hill going at it over Colin Kaepernick.